Is AVP and MVP type higher? Well, I don't know yet, but it's looking good so far. Stick around. You're about to be locked into this special edition of the Locked On Patriots podcast.
You are Locked On Patriots, your daily New England Patriots podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello to all of you Foxborough faithful, and thank you once again for making Locked On Patriots a daily part of your New England Patriots coverage, even on the weekend. And remember that Locked On Patriots is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube, so smash that subscribe button, and don't forget to download and follow wherever you get your podcasts to ensure that you get the latest episode as soon as it's available. I'm your host, Mike Debate, and I cover your New England Patriots for Patriots Country of Fan Nation. So reach out to me and let me know what's on your mind on X at MDABATENFL. And while you're out there showing some social media love to Locked On Patriots, please be sure to follow our account there as well at LO_Patriots. And once again, folks, don't forget, Locked On Patriots is a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's special edition of Locked On Patriots is going to show you why all members of this great network are indeed your team every day, because today is about getting to know the new guy, Alex Van Pelt, your new offensive coordinator here in New England. And for as much has been written and said about Alex in the days since his hiring, including right here on Friday, we talked about it on Locked On Patriots with our guest Steve Balistreri. Not a lot of the insight you've been getting is from local experts, people who've covered Alex in the years leading up to his getting the job here in Foxborough. For instance, you may not know that his leaving the Cleveland Browns may have actually been more about his wanting greater control of the offense than it was with the Browns' dissatisfaction in his job performance. Yeah, I know, folks. It doesn't exactly match the narrative you get on terrestrial radio. Big surprise, right? After all, it's a lot easier to besmirch than it is to do research. But today here on the pod, we're going to give you an inside look from our local expert right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. My good friend and colleague, Jeff Lloyd, one half of the hosting tandem of Locked On Browns, will give his in-depth analysis on what Alex Van Pelt's hiring actually means for the Patriots. What does it mean logistically for the play calling on the field? We all know that Kevin Stefanski was the one calling the plays in Cleveland. How will Alex Van Pelt adjust to that? Jeff will also be describing Alex's methods of working with quarterbacks, and we all know he's worked with a lot of them. Who's he going to be working with this year in New England? Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi, or perhaps a highly touted rookie with that number 3 pick. And last but certainly not least, we're going to talk about Alex Van Pelt, the man, the guy you've all been hearing about as a quote-unquote players coach, someone the players love to play for, and a great football mind. And beyond that, we all know that Alex Van Pelt's hiring is going to continue to have a ripple effect in New England, and the Patriots may be spreading the effects of that seismic shift on offense that we've all been hearing about and we expect to see in 2024. In fact, the entire coaching staff may be getting a little taste of that. Sports Illustrated's Albert Breer reported on Saturday evening that the Patriots may be in talks, serious talks, to bring in former New York Giants coach Ben McAdoo, not only as an assistant on the offensive staff with Alex Van Pelt, but maybe playing an assistant head coach role to Jerod Mayo. Yeah, folks, be sure to stay locked in to Locked On Patriots on Monday and all throughout the week as we monitor the McAdoo situation. A lot of irons in the fire. We're going to continue to stoke the flames with all of them right here on Locked On Patriots. But bottom line, folks, no matter how many consiglieres the Patriots put into the Foxborough fold, Alex Van Pelt is ultimately going to control this offense. It's going to belong to him. And when we return, we're going to get an inside look at the Patriots' new OC from our resident expert, as well as my good friend and colleague. Jeff Lloyd of Locked On Browns is going to join me here in just a moment when this special edition of Locked On Patriots continues. As always, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Locked On listeners, the only thing more important than cheering on your favorite team on game day is making sure that your game day table is well stocked. Why root for your team on an empty stomach? Order on DoorDash and save on football watch party favorites. All of your favorite restaurants, stores, from retail to grocery, guess what, folks? They're on the app, so you can shop everything you need to get game day ready. And with the big game coming up, get prepared before game day. Stock up on your favorite appetizers and order all of your tailgate gear on DoorDash. And then get ready to watch the action on Big Game Sunday. So Locked On listeners, don't delay, do it today. Get 50% off up to a $10 value when you spend $15 or more on your first order. That's when you download the DoorDash app and enter the code LOCKED23. Subject to change and rules apply, so don't forget. Use the code LOCKED23, LOCKED23 for 50% off up to a $10 value on your first order when you download the DoorDash app and spend $15 or more. Subject to change, terms apply. Happy Super Bowl to all who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. And folks, if you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some super bets with my favorite outlet to do so, FanDuel. I know your favorite team from Foxborough is not playing in this one, but it is still a great time to enjoy the game, the food, the commercials, and maybe even some of those prop bets that we love so much. FanDuel has so many ways for you to end the season with a W, maybe even 2, or maybe even 3. Not only can you bet on who will win Super Bowl 58, but FanDuel also has bets for which players will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, and so much more. New customers, if you join today, you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to sign up. FanDuel.com/LockedOn. That's Locked On, LOCKEDON. FanDuel.com/LockedOn. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Pats fans, thank you for spending part of your Sunday here on this special edition of Locked On Patriots. And as I've said before, my second favorite part of working for this great network, and folks, I say second because you know the best part is interacting with all of you everydayers out there. But I truly love the opportunity to cross the streams with my fellow colleagues, the great experts here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Crossovers is one of the things the Locked On Podcast Network does best. Others can try to imitate it, but none of them can duplicate it. It really is done at its very best right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. And today, it's my honor to welcome in one half of the hosting tandem of Locked On Browns, my good friend Jeff Lloyd, because the Pats, of course, have a new OC in the name of Alex Van Pelt. And Jeff has covered Alex for the last 4 years in Cleveland, and he's going to bring you insight you can only find here on Locked On Patriots. So without further ado, let's bring him in. He is the co-host of Locked On Browns alongside another valued Locked On colleague of mine, Garrett Bush, Mr. Jeff Lloyd. Jeff, welcome to Locked On Patriots, my friend.
No problem at all. Obviously, this time of year, a lot of upheaval, and it's really good for us here at the network that obviously anything that goes down, we know we have a resource with that, every one of the 31 other teams for, trying to give, obviously our listeners, our everyday listeners, the best possible coverage that we can.
Absolutely. And Jeff, you're the perfect guy to talk to about this. Since 2020, Alex Van Pelt had been the Browns offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach under Kevin Stefanski. Now, during his time in Cleveland, Van Pelt helped the Browns offense to compile some impressive numbers. The team earned 408 total points in 2020. That was the second most in team history. 396 points in 2023. That's the fifth most. So obviously there is an on-field pedigree and a reason for Patriots fans to feel excited. But once again, you've covered Alex for the last few years. What type of coordinator is New England getting in Alex Van Pelt?
And this is kind of where it gets difficult, obviously. When you talk about the Cleveland Browns, it's, it has always been Kevin Stefanski's offense and Kevin Stefanski calling the plays. So with Alex Van Pelt, you certainly, have questions. And look, we're going to learn more about Alex Van Pelt in his time in New England than we probably most certainly did in his time, obviously, here with the Cleveland Browns. But the players absolutely rave about him. That is one thing that you're always looking forward to. And I think the thing that comes off very impressive is also, he worked with Baker Mayfield. He obviously worked with several other quarterbacks, during the Mayfield regime while Mayfield was injured, during, his time that he was dinged up. Then, you get to what was the Jacoby Brissett brief era. And Jacoby obviously looked really, really good while playing. And, obviously, Jacoby was one of the guys that really could get the ball vertical. It's always been an issue with this Stefanski offense was consistency in the vertical game. Jacoby Brissett showed that. Deshaun Watson comes in for that last 6-game stretch, and I think we all, myself included, guilty, probably felt that Watson was going to be able to give more in that 6-game stretch than he did. We maybe, didn't really put into, words or maybe thoughts about how long, obviously, Deshaun had been out before he came back for the second half of the 2022 season. But 23 started, and obviously with Deshaun, things look pretty good. You get Deshaun's, final moments, 14 for 14 in the second half against Baltimore, down in that game, come back in one of the tougher places in the NFL to win, get a big victory, and then it all comes crumbling down. Wednesday that week, we found out that Deshaun Watson obviously broke his shoulder. His season was over. And then we're back into, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. We're back into PJ Walker. But these guys won games. They legit won games. And now you're talking your second quarterback at the time, your third quarterback at the time. Even the Denver game, which the Browns ended up losing when Dorian Thompson-Robinson left the game late in the third quarter. I still believe if Dorian Thompson-Robinson had finished that game, the Browns would have been victorious that day in Denver. Then they realized that obviously P.J. Walker just wasn't going to be enough, obviously. You go the Joe Flacco route, and it was such a magical run. I mean, this is going to be one of these like folklore stories of the Cleveland Browns for a long, long time to come. But then you saw, there can be vertical consistency within this Cleveland Browns offense. The thing that really was really difficult to monitor throughout this whole year was everyone, harped upon the loss of Nick Chubb, and obviously it was great. It was a great loss, a huge loss. But this team was going to transcend to being a team that was going to be run through Deshaun Watson. It had always been Nick Chubb first for the first 3 years of this regime. But this was going to be the year. Either way, it was going to become more of Deshaun Watson's team. Obviously, injury to Chubb, injury to Watson, that changed all of that. But I think the thing you're going to most look forward to, and obviously you see where the Patriots are selecting, most likely quarterback is probably high on that list. And you have a guy who has worked with so many different quarterbacks and found a lot of success with them. So Alex Van Pelt is a versatile guy who can look at whoever his guy is and get the best out of him. You take what you did with the almost 39-year-old veteran who hadn't played in well over a calendar year, getting Deshaun Watson up to the level they got Deshaun Watson to, having PJ Walker win a game at home against a team that is going to play for the Super Bowl a week from today, taking young rookie Dorian Thompson-Robinson and getting him to be able to win a huge divisional game at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it was a close game, but DTR won the game. He put together a late-minute drive that got the Browns the field goal to win the game. The versatility, the adaptability, and, I've always been one, and we have so many coaches, people that work with players in the NFL nowadays who basically never touched a football in their life. I am still pro guys who have actually played, had the experience, and Alex is one of those guys. And I think for Alex, he goes into this, and now he's going to be an offensive coordinator for a guy who is a defensive background coach. And for Alex, this is truly the first time Alex Van Pelt, it's going to get to be his offense. And I think for Alex, this is a challenge that he is more than ready for. And I think for him and the Browns, it was just a matter of it's gone as far as it's going to go. And, everybody I kind of saw the writing on the wall. And the Browns also said, look, last year we ripped apart our defensive staff, brought in new people, brought in a bunch more players, and had real immediate success and sustained success throughout the season. So obviously the Browns are thinking, let's try to do that same thing just on the offensive side of the ball here. There was no ill will. It was just truly, Alex always wanted more. And understanding the situation with the Browns, that wasn't just going to be the way it was. I mean, when you have an offensive-minded head coach, you can be the offensive coordinator, but we still don't know if Kevin Stefanski is going to give up play calling duties to his new OC. But for Alex, this is his opportunity. This is where he gets to walk in, and this will be an Alex Van Pelt offense.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you mentioned the versatility in Van Pelt's resume and the fact that this will be his offense here in New England. The work that he's done with quarterbacks obviously excites Patriots fans because barring anything unforeseen, and folks, there are still rumors out there that the Patriots may go in a different direction. I know I've heard them too. We're going to talk about them on Monday with Murph. Don't worry. But there is still that prevailing thought process that the Patriots will go quarterback early in this draft. So Alex Van Pelt's work with quarterbacks is certainly speaking very highly of him. But you mentioned the offense using Nick Chubb first as that first option. Let's not forget, folks, the Browns rushing game finished in the top 10 in 3 of the 4 seasons that Alex Van Pelt was at the helm as the offensive coordinator. Now, as Jeff said, when you have Nick Chubb, that's a little bit of a help. But, when you average 5.1 yards per rush in 2021, the 2022 Cleveland team had the second most scrimmage yards in franchise history with 6,200. Versatility in being able to call multiple areas and being able to pull upon multiple strengths is something that I think is impressive about Alex Van Pelt. I'm looking forward to seeing it because even if New England takes a little while to get going with their quarterback game, they've got a guy like Ramondre Stevenson that can carry the load as the lead feature in the New England Patriots offense. So it's good to know that he's got that experience. Bottom line, Jeff, Alex is a seasoned coach. He's 53. He's going to be the elder statesman on Jerod Mayo's staff. And his experience in coaching a number of different areas throughout the field, throughout his resume, has definitely spoken well of him. You mentioned this is finally going to be his offense. If you can elaborate on that a little bit in terms of the type of coach that you think he can make as either an advisor or someone that is going to be very close to Jerod Mayo in terms of the head coaching position, how much can Patriots fans expect him to take on that type of a role in New England in 2024?
I think that's exactly probably what Jerod Mayo was looking for. I mean, you're looking for, I think the age difference has got to be, almost probably what, anywhere from like 12, 13, 14, 15 years between Jerod and Alex Van Pelt. So, and for Jerod, and getting this opportunity as young as he is, and certainly well deserving of it, obviously. And this is a guy, I know Browns fans were, hey, is there any chance he can? They were poking around to see whether or not they could get him out to come run the defense last year, and then all of a sudden, obviously, we got the confirmation that basically he was next in line when ever it was going to be time for Bill to go, and for Jerod, it's going to be so much coming at him so fast. Obviously, trying to worry about all three facets of his team: his special teams, his defense, his offense, and obviously, his calling card, his defensive side of the ball. It's got to be somebody he can trust. And what are you going to do in year one? You're obviously going to want to try to get the defense up to speed. But what are you going to do offensively? You're going to try to run the ball because it's going to be a new quarterback or it's going to be a rookie quarterback. You're not just going to go out there and say, hey, we're going to turn to the Kansas City Chiefs. We're going to be a pass first team. We're going to throw the ball forward, because you're going to end yourself up on a lot. In year one, you might end up on the wrong end of a lot of ball games, 30-10. No, you want to be able to run the ball on offense. You want to be able to shorten the game, give your team the best opportunity to win games, a la how the Houston Texans succeeded this year. So I think that is, where he's got this advantage where he can just trust Alex and say, look, this is the way I want to play. This is the style I want to play. This is the mold of how I want to work each 60 minutes on Sunday, which means obviously running the ball. And I do think you'll see some wide zone. I think that'll be something that they go with, because as they were talking, with Deshaun Watson going more from the gun, that usually translates more to a lot more inside zone running, not so much more outside zone running. So that was something we were thinking we were going to get to see this year. Obviously, injuries dealt us another hand, but with that, obviously it leads to the rollouts, it leads to the play action. And then of course, screen game and all of that stuff that you're going to do with a younger quarterback. Obviously, you tried to make it as simple as possible. You're not going to put him in gun. You're not going to give him 7-step drops. You're not going to want him to read the field. You want to basically, marinate and grow the player into the position. And Alex has done this with several players. He's done this in more than one place, working with several quarterbacks. So it was Alex Van Pelt's time. And, his name got out there. And this was one where Browns fans were like, well, we're losing the entire offensive side of the coaching staff. It's not necessarily the best thing in the world to have any side of your coaching staff together for 4 years. It's not usually the best sign because, obviously nobody came to poach anybody away. Nobody came to try to promote. And, for the Browns, and they do this very, very well, nothing gets ugly between the Browns and moving on from anybody. It's just not the way this franchise does business now. They want everything amicable. They want people to move on. Look, if I couldn't move you on or I didn't have the spot to move you on, it doesn't mean you're bad. It doesn't mean you're not qualified. It just means it maybe necessarily didn't work out here, which obviously works out because people leave. They go to good places. Alex Van Pelt gets this opportunity. Will get to have, his hand in choosing the quarterback of which will be his offense, and getting to work for a guy that's basically going to say, hey, look, that is your side of the ball. I will do anything I can do to help you, Alex, but I'm going to handle this. And, please just find me a way to get, 25.5 points per week.
Absolutely. And Jeff, tremendous insight when it comes to the great football mind that we hear about Alex Van Pelt and what he's going to bring to the table logistically. I think you've outlined that perfectly. And I also think that you've helped to enlighten us as to what makes him a true players coach and what makes him someone that can come in and really revamp the way this team does business on offense, especially from a quarterback standpoint. Before I let you go today, you've covered Alex for the last 4 years. Are there any insightful tidbits that you can provide on Alex Van Pelt, the man, that you think Patriots fans should know heading into this season?
Well, for me, look, it's just it's player feedback, and you hear it from offensive linemen. You hear it from wide receivers. You hear it from the running backs. Not a lot of guys, gravitate and know all of their coaches. Normally everybody is within the room. It's that group. Everybody plays as one. But anybody who spoke on Alex, there was never a negative word. With media personnel who were close to him, and guy came in, showed up every day. And you keep in mind some of the things that he was dealt with. Obviously, 2020 was a fantastic year for this franchise. Then 21, obviously, with Baker, with the injury, and all of a sudden 21 basically, went up in smoke before it even started. And then you made the move for 2022, and it was like, all right, Alex, we got you this quarterback. And at the time, you thought, all right, Deshaun Watson's going to miss a month. Then all of a sudden, it was 11 games. And it was like they always basically had to go back and kind of, I don't want to necessarily say start over, but if they were at step 6, they had to go swing back to page 2 and okay, well, that was the plan, but now that's not the plan. Then you get to 2023 and obviously, Deshaun starts the first 3 games and all of a sudden we're on page 6 again, but now we got to go back to page 3. Okay. It's PJ Walker. All right. Okay, good. All right. Well, you know what? Okay. All right. DTR. Okay. Then PJ Walker. All right. Deshaun's back. Okay, good. 1 page or 2. All right. Well, now we got to go back. Now we're back to DTR. Oh, wait. Yeah, that's PJ Walker. Oh, wait. Hold on. We got a brand new. And just there's not enough given credit to understand how difficult that is because you spend so much time between, whenever your game ends, Sunday, Monday night, whatever, to the time you hit the practice field on Wednesday. And keep in mind, there were times the Browns got back to the practice field on Wednesday and the plan they had made from the time the previous game ended until they got to the practice. You know what? Whatever we just did for the last 48 hours is null and void. Here we go again. We're starting over on the fly now on Wednesday. So, I think that is something where if he gets into a position and it can be more routine because these NFL coaches, they love the routine. They love, having everything set schedule. You understand that there are going to be some ins and outs, but, getting him to get to have influence in the quarterback that he is going to coach to hopefully have where everything will be in more regularity for him. I think Alex should do really well. And I think he's going to impress. This quarterback is certainly going to be interesting. The route that they go here. Do they bring in somebody with a little bit of a proven record, or they just commit that number 3 pick? A guy like Jaden Daniels, that would be interesting because that would be the most athletic guy that Alex probably has ever had to essentially work with, and saying, okay, it gives him a chance to broaden his horizons and, go out of his zone a little bit and implement things that he's never really used before because he didn't have a quarterback with that type of ability. But for, I think for the Patriots, I think for Jerod Mayo, I think this is going to work. And obviously a weird just situation all around for the Patriots. I mean, it's weird enough that you had a coach there for as long as you did. And I'm sure for a lot of people, it's really, really hard to even still, fathom the fact that this is going to be a new regime. But luckily the regime is going to be run probably under the same type of leadership that it was run previously with Jerod Mayo, obviously having been a Bill guy. Basically, same type of thing, but obviously a lot, hopefully more flavor to it because nobody was more vanilla than Mr. Bill Belichick.
Patriots fans, thank you once again for joining us here today on Locked On Patriots and spending part of your weekend before we kick off the week in style right here on Monday. Don't forget, folks, it is hashtag Locked On Murph Monday, and it is also hashtag Mailbag Monday. So make sure to get your questions in. Drop them right in the comments section below if you're watching on YouTube, or be sure to tag either Murph, myself, or the Locked On Patriots accounts on Twitter to make sure that your great questions are featured right here on Locked On Patriots. And once again, a tip of the cap and a big thanks to my good friend and colleague, Jeff Lloyd of Locked On Browns, for lending his insight, wisdom, and counsel that you can only find here on the Locked On Podcast Network, folks. Once again, I'm Mike Debate, reminding you all to stay safe and to stay well and to be the change you wish to see in the world. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you back here again tomorrow on Locked On Patriots.